Hello everybody. It's been a while. About 450 days, if you're counting. I know I'm not though. Really quickly, I want to talk about what happened after my last video. After I finished the Lewis player model, I made some character sculpts of Sharky, Penguin, and Harry. And those got a lot of love as well, so thank you to the Yogscast and the community members for all of your support on those projects. It really meant a lot. It was very overwhelming. Lewis retweeted my tweet. Ben left this comment on the Steam Workshop page. Harry actually reached out, and I made some animations for his Twitch page, which have been replaced as far as I can tell. The branding looks a lot better now than my model anyways, but I'm not hurt, Harry. Don't worry about it. Didn't hurt my feelings. I didn't cry myself to sleep. And then when I was working on the Penguin model, Ped actually came into my stream. He chatted with me for a bit. He was super nice, super supportive, so thank you very much, Ped. Thank you, all the community members. I really appreciate all your support. Now that the thank yous and the mushy crap is out of the way, let's do a quick recap of the last year. I released my first game as a 3D artist. That was really cool. I turned 23. That's a big number. I worked on this thing, and we're never going to talk about it again. And if I find out you talk about it, I will find your house, and I will come and beat you up, okay? So just don't do it. I don't want to fight anybody, because I'll probably lose. Oh, and I almost forgot. I went through the most brutal beatdown of depression and burnout that I've ever experienced. But I'm okay now. I'm okay now. On the crisp morning of April 13th, 2021, I awoke from my deep slumber, and I checked my phone, and I had a Reddit notification. And when I checked it, it was a comment I was tagged in by user Robot Ninja Pirate in the Yogscast subreddit, and it reads, "For anyone unaware, Lewis is using the skin that Brady J. Hardy made/posted a few months back. Edit, he also did one for Ben, Ped, and Barry." I click on the video that this Reddit thread is addressing, and Lewis is using my player model. I hadn't been keeping up with the Yogscast at this point. I was kind of in, like, with my burnout and my depression, I was just like, not having it, not doing it. So yeah, I saw it, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And I kind of just moved on. I didn't really think about it twice. Then a couple weeks ago, my girlfriend was in my office, and I had my YouTube homepage up, and she saw the player model in the thumbnail of one of the YouTube videos in my sub feed, and we had to talk about how cool it was, and we watched a bit of the video so I could show it to her. I started watching this year's worth backlog of Yogscast content that I had been watching, and it kind of sunk in finally how fucking cool it is that they're using my player model. Something I made is now being used regularly on a channel I've watched for almost 10 years, and it's cool. Okay, it's fucking cool. Whatever, I said it. It's cool. So after watching that year's worth of content that I missed out on, I also felt really driven to get back into creating finally. It's been like a year since I've made something. So instead of struggling to start a new project, I thought I'd finish something that I didn't finish yet. So I jumped back into the Sharky player model, and that's what this video is about. But wait, please wait. I've made some changes to the Lewis player model. So this is kind of a bonus update. While watching that year's worth of content, there are some things I noticed that I wanted to change. I wanted to add and tweak. So I did those. So we're going to run through the changes to the Lewis player model, and then we'll jump into talking about Sharky, so please bear with me. So the first thing I really wanted to change was the textures on Lewis. If you recall from my last video, Lewis's textures are made up of ZBrush poly paint that was then baked onto the low poly mesh. Lewis is a bunch of flat colors with a black ambient occlusion map laid on top of it, which gives some really dark shadows, and I've kind of scrapped that workflow of baking textures and using ZBrush poly paint. So, oh hey Lewis. So here's what I did. I took Lewis here, I scooped him up in my hand, I moved him over here, and I dropped him over here into this program. This program's called Substance Painter. It's really cool. So in this program, I added new textures to Lewis. I added a bit more grunge, a bit more color variation and saturation, so there's a bit more depth to the character. I really like these stitches on the clothing. I think it adds some visual interest to the clothing that wasn't there before, and I think overall the character looks a lot more appealing. So I really like the new textures. I'm really happy with how they turned out. So I took those textures, I put them on the player model, and then I threw them in Garry's mod to just test the textures. And I noticed some really bad physics problems that I didn't notice before. The first problem I noticed was Lewis's upper arms. They seemed to be restricted to a 90-degree angle. The forearm would move like this. It could do all it wanted, but the upper arm seemed to be stuck like this. My first instinct was I thought the physics model for the upper arm was clipping into the chest model, but that wasn't the case. To fix this issue, all I did was add a physics model to the clavicles, which then allowed the upper arms to rotate. I also added a physics model to the neck because before his neck would go stiff, and his head would pivot just at the top on top of it, and that's not how that's supposed to work. So that's fixed too. That actually fixed the biggest problem, because sometimes the ragdoll would hold its momentum for some reason and it would just fly around. Like, why is he doing this? Why is he flying around? Dude, come back. Dude. So yeah, that's fixed. In my last video, I was not happy with how the wrists looked in the first person view. I just did the skinning on the helper bone in his forearm, which helped the wrist a little bit, and then it was taken the extra mile by the new textures, which helped hide those UV seams a bit better, so it looks a little bit better in first person now. So I'm much happier with the wrists now. I made some small changes to his jiggle bones that you probably won't notice. I changed the damping value on his hair, so when the hair follows the head, it's a bit floatier now. It doesn't kind of spring back into shape as quick. I also dropped Lewis's textures from 4K to 2K, and I added some simple LOD materials onto him. I'll talk about that more for Sharky, but for now, just know that that is also applied to Lewis as well. I think that pretty much covers all the changes for the Lewis player model, so that is now live on the Steam Workshop as of the release of this video. So hopefully you guys will see that in the videos soonish, and I hope you enjoy the changes. Quickly, before we move on, the Yogscast released these TTT hanging ornaments, and if you look at the Lewis one, obviously my Lewis player model was based off art that they already had, but I like to think my player model had a bit of influence in what this ornament looks like. That's what I'm going to believe. It might be wrong, but I'm choosing to believe it. It's very cool that my work has influenced official Yogscast merchandise. On the down low, if you know where I can get one of these hanging ornaments, because I didn't know about them when they were selling, let me know. Okay, thanks. Email that to email that to my accountant. Okay, all that said and done, let's talk about Sharky now. Whoa, yeah, we love Sharky. Let's talk about him. Yeah, okay, fuck. Sick. This ring light is really bright in my fucking eyes, man. First, I'm calling out the Yogscast Reddit. I'm calling you guys out. This is to all of you for this criminal action. I made 4 player models. I made Lewis, I made Sharky, I made Pedguin, and I made Harry. And Sharky got nowhere near the same amount of upvotes as the rest. Just because he's not cursed and creepy and gross like everyone said the other ones were, doesn't mean he doesn't deserve the same amount of love, okay? It's rude, I'm offended, and quite frankly, I will not forgive you, okay? Now that that's out of the way, we can move on. Where I left Sharky in 2020 was as this sculpt that I posted on the subreddit. So I need to apologize him first, and it was super easy, really smooth process. It was really quick too. I didn't have to do a lot of small areas like I did on Lewis, and I didn't have to do all those different strands of hair, so really no problem at all. I also made his UVs at this stage, no problems with those either. It was just quick and easy. That's what we love. We love that. I love that. So quick and easy and fun. And I didn't really want to start rigging yet. I wanted to jump into texturing first, so I made Sharky's new textures. I obviously wanted Sharky to have color changing in Garry's mod, so I kind of had to do some weird stuff while I was texturing him. So to start, I made all of his textures with him having the standard blue body that you would see in the Yogscast merchandise and stuff. But once I was happy with his textures, I had to convert that to a white body. So now his entire body is white. Then I used those texture groups I had to make a mask. So his white underbelly I turned into solid black, and his outer body that will change color I made a solid white, and I exported that as a mask that I'll use on my albedo map. Last time I was taking my albedo map and an ambient occlusion map, and I was overlaying the ambient occlusion on top to create my final albedo map. This time, since I'm using Substance Painter, my materials I'm making are using that ambient inclusion data to generate the albedo map's textures already. So they're already used, they're a lot more saturated this time, and it's not just me applying dark shadows over the texture, so they look a lot nicer. So like I mentioned earlier, I dropped using 4K textures, and I'm now using 2K textures. 4K and 2K refer to the resolution of your image. So a 4K texture is 4096 pixels by 4096 pixels, and a 2K texture is 2048 pixels by 2048 pixels. That seems like a very big change, but when you look at them side by side, they look very similar. In fact, there's not much of a difference until you peel back the screen and you see the file sizes. And the file sizes are a lot bigger for 4K compared to 2K, and my textures aren't that detailed that they need that extra file size. So to optimize the player model and make it a little bit smaller as a file, I'm using 2K textures. I could probably get away with 1K textures, but I really want them to look just a little extra crisp up close, so I'm opting for 2K. We're all using modern computers now. I don't think there's going to be performance impacts by me choosing to use 2K textures. If there is, I can address it, but for now they're staying as 2K. I did, however, mention that I made LODs for Lewis, so let's talk about those. If you don't know what an LOD is, it stands for level of detail, and it's used a lot in game development. So let's say you have a really nice model, it's super detailed, the textures are great, and it looks great up close. As the player moves further away, you lose a lot of that detail, so there's no point in rendering it. So you swap it in for a model with less detail or a texture with less detail to better improve performance because you're not rendering so much. However, I did not do model LODs because I didn't want to create a bunch of different model variations. Instead, I did material LODs. So if you look at this video here, you'll see Sharky. He looks great in his little vest. You'll see some dark spots on the vest and just the specular highlights, the white shine on the character. But as he steps further away from the camera, you see it disappear and pop back in. That's him on the boundary of that LOD change. What's happening here is it's dropping to a lower resolution texture, which I've set at 512 pixels by 512 pixels, because you don't need to see all that detail. I'm also dropping the Phong material properties, the rim light, and the normal map. Really quickly, let's talk about that stuff. Here's a character without Phong, and here's a character with Phong. It just adds specular highlights and probably some other stuff, but I'm mainly after the specular highlights. And let's talk about rim light. Here's a character without rim light, and here's a character with rim light. If you think of something like Valorant, for example, the enemy team has a red glow to them. That's very similar to a rim light. But I'm using a white rim light on Sharky and Lewis to help them pop out and contrast against the environment. So hopefully now you understand what those two things are when I mention them. Overall, the material LODs I made are a very small optimization, but hopefully it's enough that it helps a little bit. I think it's better than having none at all. Okay, so textures were done, and now it's time to do the boring process of rigging. Thankfully, it wasn't that bad for Sharky. Sharky actually has significantly less bones than Lewis's player model does. Lewis has around 67 bones, and Sharky is only sitting at around 30. They're using the same skeleton, but Sharky doesn't need fingers or hands. He doesn't need a head or a neck because he's mainly all spine, so there's a lot less rigging work to do. While we're on the topic of rigging, let's talk about the jiggle bones I made for Sharky. I put 2 jiggle bones in his dorsal fin and 2 jiggle bones in his tail. In 2020, before I even made the sculpt for Sharky, I was really sold on the idea of this cute little shark with a wiggly tail. And now that's a reality, I can tell you I was right. I was fucking right. Look how adorable this shit is. Look at him wiggling around. The next thing I made for Sharky was his physics model. So these are just very simple primitive shapes that are used to calculate the collision values on the ragdoll. And I applied some to his tail and his dorsal fin. So unlike Lewis, Sharky's jiggle bones will simulate upon death, so they won't go stiff and clip through anything. Yeah, look at that. Look how his tail... Wait, what the fuck? Okay, so somehow that turned Sharky into a shitty helicopter, and I don't know why. Yeah, so I went into Maya. I grabbed the physics models off of his fin and ripped them off viciously, and then I took them over here and I threw them in the garbage. We don't need them. So now his dorsal fin will be static upon death, and it'll clip through walls and stuff. But I would rather have that than the world's shittiest corpse helicopter. So I think I made the right choice there. I also added the first-person arms. They were super simple because all they are is an upper arm and a forearm. There's no fingers. There's no helper bones like Lewis's. So yeah, this is basically what his arms are. And they're very simple. There's no fingers. Like I said, it's just a big fin. So super easy. The guns do kind of hover away from the hands a bit, and I'm fine with that because I think the fins would be a little intrusive if they were pushed further out. So I kind of like where they are, and I'm going to leave them like that. Okay, so then I made some hitboxes for Sharky, and I really want to make sure he had a head hitbox. But fun thing is, Sharky doesn't have a head, but he does have an entire spine. So I assigned part of his spine to be a head hitbox, and I put it right between his eyes. So if you shoot Sharky between the eyes, you should get your headshots. Let's keep that on the down low, actually. If any Yogscast members are watching this video, aim between the eyes, okay? He does have a head bone, but that head bone is still following Valve's animations. So that head bone is moving around a lot more than Sharky's entire body is. So if I assign that head hitbox to that head bone, it's going to clip outside of his body and it's going to move around and headshots will be inconsistent. So it's now part of his spine. So that's a fun fact for you. That's a fun fact. I did something for Sharky I didn't do for Lewis. I made a custom view height. So, you know, if Sharky's this tall, it doesn't make sense that his view height is up here above his head. So I dropped that view height so it's in line with his eyes. And all it took was this simple Lewis script right here. Look at this beautiful script that I didn't write. I stole it. That's right. Work smarter, not harder. Okay, so skinning's done. Everything's ready to go into Garry's mod, basically. So player model's done. Awesome. Let's why does he look like this? Why does Sharky look like this? Why is he shiny? Okay, so I did say at the beginning that almost everything went smooth. I troubleshooted this for 3 days. Let's run through some of the stuff I tried. So I noticed that the issue went away when I turned off normal mapping. So I thought this was something to do with my textures. So I fiddled around with my VMTs and my textures for a while. I thought maybe it was a problem with my Fong values, my rim light values. So I was reading tons of documentation. I couldn't find anything. As far as I could tell, everything was set up properly, but he still looked like this. So that couldn't be the issue. The next thing I thought was my mesh normals must be messed up. Normals are basically vectors. So imagine a line facing out from every polygon on a mesh. That's what a normal is. It helps calculate shading values and probably some other shit that I don't know. So Maya, I ran a function to set all the normals to the face, so they're all should be facing outwards properly. I exported it, I compiled it, and it was still broken. So it can't be my mesh normals. So then I thought, okay, well maybe it's just this mesh in general. So I went back into my Lewis file, I re-exported that, and now Lewis is broken. Now Lewis is fucking broken. So for some reason, my 2020 export works fine, but my 2021 one looks like this. So, I don't know. I do all my work in Autodesk Maya. I export that as an FBX file. I import that into 3ds Max. I export my SMD file from there, and then I compile it for Garry's mod after that. So something was wrong in this entire process. Okay, sure. First, I tried switching to older programs because the new versions I'm using are not what I used in 2020, and it was still broken. Okay. FBX exports actually have different versions. There's different FBX versions. So I ran through those. FBX 2013 didn't work. FBX 2011 didn't work. None of them worked. Oh. Okay, so it must be something with my SMD export. I can't troubleshoot this. I don't know how SMD files work. I mean, look at this. Can you read this? I can't read this. I don't know what this says. I don't know what to do about this. So I reached out to Captain Big Butt, my savior in 2020. I never heard back from them. So I also tried joining a Valve modding Discord. They had some weird application process. So I had to wait to get approved before I could even ask my question. So I had some time to kill. But I was still feeling creative. So I kept working on the Sharky player model by making some customization options. I know Ben likes Warhammer. That's about all I know about Warhammer. So I made this little Space Marine inspired outfit for Sharky. I kind of liked it. I threw it on the subreddit to ask for suggestions. And we're going to run through those suggestions right now. Okay, so the first suggestion here is from Grindhead. They say, maybe some hazard stripes on the armor as an additional reference to the mighty door kickers. Or maybe a hazard stripe boot on one foot. I don't know what this obsession is with hazard stripes. Or what the door kickers are. But yeah, sure, I'll add it to the pile of suggestions, I guess. Oh, here's another comment from Maynor Z. Mortis Portis. Need more hazard stripes, brother. So what I'm learning is there's some obsession with hazard stripes that I'm not included in. So that's fun. There seems to be a demand for hazard stripes, so I guess I'll add them to the player mod. Oh, hold on. Definitely needs that and either MP or Exterminatus printed somewhere. Perhaps a single dent where it prevented a poon. This dude isn't even trying to speak in a language I understand. Like, what? Exterminatus? What does that mean? Oh. There are references from his Warhammer modded XCOM streams, so they're chapter he made up for his guys. Okay, so it's Ben lore that I don't know. Sweet. Let's do a bit of research. Okay, so I found this Reddit thread after doing some research. It had a color scheme for the Space Marines. It had some comments from Lewis under it for some additional information for me to steal from. So I stole both of those, and I reworked the textures for the Sharky armor. And even better, I added boots, I added pauldrons, and I added a chest ornament piece. Boom. There you go. Look at that Space Marine outfit. That's glorious. Got those hazard stripes on. Those look wonderful. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm so cool. It took a day or two to make that armor. Let's see if I got into that Discord server. No, I didn't. I looked. You know, fuck the server. I'm gonna try a different one. All right. Oh, look at this one. This one looks good. Let's join that server. Ooh, I'll go into the assets channel. Okay, I'm gonna drop my question here. I'm gonna go do my laundry now. while I wait for I have a response. Never mind. Okay, let's see if this dude can fix it. We fixed it. Okay, perfect. We're gonna compile it now. And when we refresh this, it should be fixed. He should be looking normal again. Oh my god! So when you Google 3ds Max SMD exporter, the first result is from Wonderboy, and that's the plugin I was using. However, apparently everyone uses something called Wallworms, which wasn't even on my radar, and it fixed my issue. Just switch my exporter. Never thought to do that. So yeah, there we go. Okay, so yeah, now the glowing thing's fixed, but I still have this giant Reddit thread of cosmetic suggestions to go through. Rabbit Stew and Stout says an RSB as an option for his back. Sticky Bomb the Sticky Bomber. A little Palp riding in a backpack Yoda style. Boom, both great ideas. I'll see if I can get it done. Spoiler alert, I didn't do it. And to all the people that wanted Sharky and Palp stuff, I'm sorry that none of it made it into the final model, but hopefully you like everything I did add. It's Plain Old Steve suggests a business suit for Sharky. I'm sorry, Steve, but your idea didn't make the cut, but I did make you this little picture. Wow. So hopefully that makes up for it. Sorry, Steve. Oh, great. CLXVII_ says, this is just nitpicking. I think the model looks great, but shark tails are vertically aligned, not horizontal. But I can understand that it's maybe more difficult to model to not have it touch the ground. Well, CLXVII, hate to break it to you, but sharks also don't have legs, and you didn't catch that, man. I snuck it right past you. I'm the master of stealth, not ravs. It was right under your nose the whole time, man. Come on. All jokes aside, CLX, I really don't care about the nitpicking. And it offers me this opportunity to just quickly talk about the design philosophy of this shark model, which there really isn't any on my part. I believe all this art is done by Nina Serena. As you can see here, they all have this horizontally aligned tail. My Sharky model is based on this art. It's just supposed to be adding this Sharky character that is legally distinct from the left shark and adding it to Garry's mod. That's it. That's the only reason he has a horizontal tail. There's no other reason. And then they compliment my Lewis TTT model and tell me that it's absolutely legendary, which it is. This is the smartest guy on the planet, everybody. So that's it for just general comments. We're going to start talking about the comments that I actually did incorporate into the model. Let's just dive in with the most upvoted comment on the Reddit thread, which comes from A Dark Pain, who says, how about a poon sticking out through him or a plaster on both sides where pooned? We start by taking the Sharky TTT plush design, which you can buy on the Yogscast store like I did while making this video. And I threw it onto Sharky. So I made some entry wounds on the front and back of the character, and then I stuck a poon through him. I modeled the harpoon based off the plush, and then I textured it to look like fabric, and I added the masking thing like I did on the body to the entry wounds. So like on the Sharky plush, the entry wounds will match the outside body color of the player model. Perfect, just like that, it's done, and now they can promote the plush with the player model. There you go, win-win for everybody. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, this next one comes from Comb Fair. This is the second most upvoted comment on the Reddit thread. And it says, add an option to replace the mouth with Ben's face peeping out. Let's discuss this one. I really knew this one was going to be suggested, but I was kind of hesitant about actually doing it. In my mind, the left shark player model that Ben uses right now, this is a mascot suit, so putting a Ben face in there makes sense. There's a guy in the suit. My Sharky player model is shorter than a person. It has a mouth, it has teeth, you know, it's a living thing. It's its own character. It's not someone inside a suit. But I know that Ben face is such a funny moment, and actually, fun fact, that player model with Ben's face debuted in the same video as my Lewis player model.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Trouble in Terrorist Town. Hi everyone, I've got new skin. It's terrifying. Oh my god. I hate it. Rav's is looking good too.
Hi, I've had a bit of a change too, Lewis.
The last skin change, you gotta look at Ben.
Oh, God,
No, don't look at that.
Look
It's
at his
private.
mouth.
Oh my god. Look at that. Oh my god, this is hilarious.
So anyways, yeah, I added it. Here it is. It's pretty simple. It's just a plane going through the mouth, and I hide the tongue, and Ben's face is textured on the plane. That's it. I couldn't find a better picture for Ben online. I just ripped it from this picture and slapped it on there. So I guess if Ben, if you want a different face and you see this video, let me know, and I'll swap it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Softly Gyrating says, a post-it note that says "Poon me" on his back would be a good one. That or one with a target drawn on it. Sure, that's a great idea. Let's add it. That's great. Oh, hold on. There's also a comment from the Silver Fudge. Maybe a sticky note on his back that says "Poon me" or something. Sure, okay. So I modeled a little square, put a paper texture on it, I wrote "Poon me" on it, I drew some arrows to make it nice and clickbaity, and boom, done. There it is. Look how great it looks. It also serves as a nice callback to the Donkon player model, which has a sticky note that says "RDM me," so a little bit of consistency. That's fun. But there we go. That's done. Let's move on to the next one. The next one comes from Squickman, who says, he needs more face customization. How about a pirate's eye patch, an old man sea captain's pipe, or a clown's nose? I don't know if you could fit a hat on him. He is so tall already. Also add a simple Halloween and Christmas costume. Boom. Bunch of great suggestions. Let's see what we can do. So I ended up combining some ideas. So for Sharky's Halloween outfit, I made a pirate outfit, gave him a little hat with a bandana, an eye patch, textured that up. I really like the textures on the bandana. I'm really happy with those. There we go. They're done. Perfect. Then for the Christmas outfit, I could have done a Santa hat, but it feels a little bit like generic. So I want to do something that complemented Sharky's design a bit better. So my first thought was a Christmas tree. He's kind of shaped like one. So I added a Christmas tree star on top of his head. Just plunked it down on there. But it looked a little bit empty. So I just kind of slapped a bow on his forehead and put a little gift tag that says "From Santa" on it. It's good enough. Christmas stuff is only going to get seen a couple times a year. So, yeah. Chronologically, the Christmas hat is the last one I made, and at that point, I was really ready to just push this player model out, but I knew it needed a Christmas skin. So, it's better than nothing, but it could be better. So I may update and add a different Christmas option later. That's done. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, the next suggestion comes from Zoph's Child Pad. They say, I thought the Shark Guard armor was a life vest at first, and now I really want him to wear a life vest because it's the perfect level of silly, and god damn it, you're right. So I made a life vest. Since I scrapped the old Space Marine look, I had this unused Shark Guard alpha, so I threw that on here, and it kind of started to look like a lifeguard vest. So I kind of went with that vibe. It has his name on it. It says Shark Guard on the back. It's got the Shark Guard logo. I really like this. Personally, it's my favorite customization option. I think it's really cute, and it contrasts well against the blue Sharky, so I like this one. Kind of ties back to what the John and Cactuar said, and it kind of plays on that idea of a shark who can't swim properly, so he has a life vest. So, John, I like to think I kind of got your suggestion in, even though it's not exactly the same. Okay, so that about does it for customization options. Oh, hold on. Okay, here's a comment from Ash Arrow 777 7777. That's 77, so that you guys know. They say, a shirt that says, please bring a gun before resuscitation. And god damn it, did I try to get this one in. I really liked this idea. There's a bit of a running joke that Ben gets revived and dies instantly, and he always says he didn't have a gun. So I really like this joke. However, I couldn't get it working on a shirt. I didn't like how the shirts looked on the Sharky model. So I kind of just abandoned it. But you know what? Now that I'm thinking of it, literally as I am recording this video, I'm going to throw that onto the back of the life vest. Okay, so there we go. I threw it on the back of the life vest, and now it looks kind of like a company motto. So if he's wearing the life vest, it will tell them to bring a gun before resuscitation. Lifeguards resuscitate people, right? I don't know. They do in the movies, I think. So, yeah. There we go. And that concludes the Yogscast Reddit community suggestions. So thank you to everyone in the Reddit thread who left suggestions, whether I showed it in this video or not. I really appreciate you taking the time to make a suggestion and for helping aid the creation of this player model. Okay, so he's got Space Marine armor. He's got a pirate hat and eye patch. That's all great. But I wanted a bit more out of the customization options that I had. So I split Sharky up into a bunch of sections. The Lewis player model is made up of 3 reference files, his body, his hair, and his clothes. Those all get merged together to make the Lewis player model. Sharky is made up of 16. There they are. Look at them all. Wow, that's impressive. This means I can add new options really easily later, and he's set up to go, and he's a lot more mix and match customization rather than being set to being just a Space Marine. He could be a Space Marine with a pirate hat. He could be a lifeguard with an eye patch. The only thing I added that wasn't suggested was I gave him some eyelids that look tired, so he has another eye option. That's about all I added that wasn't suggested in the Reddit thread. Sharky is customizable in a couple areas. You can customize what hat he's wearing, what his eyes look like, what his mouth looks like, what his chest piece looks like, what his arms look like, and what his feet look like. So there's a lot of room to add more. If you have suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. Even if you think of it a couple months from now, come back and leave a comment on this video, and I will get it added if I can. This is the part where we talk about things I can't fix and things that we have to live with the player model, and as a perfectionist, they kill me. First of all, just to recap, I'm using custom proportions, and the way that works is you have a reference skeleton, which is the default Valve skeleton that all the animations are made with, and then I have my new skeleton. I might be wrong when I say this, but I believe what's happening is we're subtracting values between the two skeletons, which applies to those animations to make the custom proportions work. That's very basic, at least, if it is kind of right. But the problem is that math is being applied to the root bone, which is the character's pelvis. So now when Sharky crouches or when he sits in a chair, he sinks into the ground. There's really nothing I can do about it. It's just a quirk of Garry's mod. I could raise his pelvis inside of his body a little bit more. That would lessen the effect. He wouldn't sink in as far. But as I said earlier, I have 16 models, and all of those models use that skeleton. So if I change the skeleton for one, I have to change it for all 16 models. So those little adjustments and troubleshooting things like that takes a longer time because I have 16 models to troubleshoot them with. So I'm really not in the mood to take that much time to troubleshoot it to lessen the effect. If it solved the issue, I would, but it can't be solved as far as I know. So we're gonna live with that. Another issue is how his arms clip into his body with certain guns. This is just a quirk we gotta live with. I tried solving it. As far as I know, there's not a way to change the arm positions. It looks great when he's holding something like a pistol or a crowbar. You can see both his arms. But if you switch to anything that's two-handed, you start to see some issues. Hopefully it's not a deal breaker. Sorry, I can't fix it. If I learn of a fix for these problems, I will get it fixed. But as far as I've seen on forums and Steam community discussions, there is no solution to these issues. There's also some small clipping issues, and I'm acknowledging them, but I'm not going to show them to you so that they don't stand out to you. If you do notice them, I do know about it. I'm not going to take the time to fix it because, like I said, it's a lot of troubleshooting to fix some clipping issues, and I don't want to deal with it. So we're going to live with how they are. It's not a big deal. It'll be all right. With all that said and done, I can finally present the legally distinct Sharky player model. And that is it for Sharky. As of this video being uploaded, he's now available in the Steam Workshop, along with the new version 2 updates to Lewis. Links to those are both in the description below. Okay, so let's talk about what's next. What I can tell you is I'm not done making Yogscast content. I'm going to keep pushing forward with some new stuff. I do have this Pedguin and Harry player model that I could make next. The Pedguin model, I've learned a lot about anatomy since I made this. And I'm not happy with it anymore, so I'd probably make some changes. So I don't really feel like there's an urgency to get it uploaded, but Ped, since you were nice to me and we have talked before, if you want this, if you want a custom one, reach out to me and I'll put that at the top of my priority list. The Harry player model, Harry doesn't really play anymore actively, so it'd be more for the community getting it up there, so it's not a really big priority to get it up. If people want it, I'll put it up, but for now it's kind of just going to sit there. Okay, so if I'm not doing those two, then what am I doing? I don't think I want to talk about it too much right now. It may be more than just GMOD player models. It might be some more animated videos, maybe. I'm not sure yet. I got some big plans. I'm working on it now. I'm starting production after this video. But here's a little teaser of the characters I'll be working on next. Wow. I bet you can't tell who those people are. So if you want to see any work in progress stuff that I'm doing, you can follow me on Twitter at BradyJHardy. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it. Leave a comment below. Tell me you liked it. If you have any suggestions that didn't make it to the Reddit thread, leave them below. And consider subscribing, because I'm going to be making more Yogscast related stuff. Hopefully it won't take 450 days till the next video upload, but we will see. And I just want to thank everyone again for their support on these projects. I'm really excited to be back and creating again. So hopefully I'll have some new exciting stuff to show you soon. And until then, I will see you later.